good. Day-o. Daylight come and me won't go home. Oh, come on, don't fight. Yeah, there you go. Early in my writing career, I was called into the office of one of the greatest entertainers of all time, Mr. Harry Belafonte. Now, Harry had this film project that he'd been trying to get done for about 20 years or so, but up until that moment in time, he'd been unable to do so. So he calls me in, and he looks at me and he says, "Yeah, I've been reading some of your work. It's very impressive. I was wondering if maybe you'd like to take a crack at this." I was stunned. I stood there, I said, "Well, sure, okay, I'll give it a shot if you want me to." To which, to my surprise, Harry Belafonte hired me right there on the spot. So I rushed home and I quickly punched out a first draft for him, right? Now, it was decent, but it needed work. That's when Harry says, "Pack your bags. We're going to my place." I said, "Well, where exactly is your place?" Harry said, "St. Martin." Well, hardly believing my good fortune, I just stood there and smiled. I said, "Okay." Harry and I sat on the beach for 10 days hammering out the structure of the new story, right? And then when we had everything in place, he turns to me and he says, "So, when do you think you can give me the new draft?" I said, "Well, how soon do you want it?" And without batting an eye, Harry said, 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Now you gotta understand, the average screenplay takes about 8 weeks to write, right? And Harry wanted this one in 2, but not wanting to offend an icon, I just stood there and said, "Okay." That's when Harry said, "Good, now let's go deep sea fishing." I said, "Deep sea fishing? Harry, I don't know a thing about deep sea fishing. You want me to write this script for you in 2 weeks? You gotta send me home so I can get to work." Well, reluctantly, he put me on a plane the next day. Now, before we went down to St. Martin, Harry had insisted that I buy a new laptop so that I could be ready to write at a moment's notice. Now, this was back in the days before laptops were laptops, right? I mean, this is back in the day when the only laptops that were on the market were basically prototypes. And the one that I bought for the trip cost $4,000. I mean, it was so expensive, I had to take out an advance on my writing fee just so I could pay for the thing. And the funny thing was that the entire time we were down there, I never turned that computer on once, not even once. I mean, by the time I flew back to New York, I had no idea how this machine worked. Now, I started in on the new draft for him, I think it was the last week of August. I mean, it was blazing hot, right? And we lived in a modest, one-bedroom apartment, so the only place that I had to write was a tiny walk-in closet. Now, I sat in that closet for 15 hours a day trying to punch out this script and make that 2-week deadline that Harry wanted, right? Now, I'm in there, and I'm getting the hang of my new computer, right? Or so I thought. But as I'm sitting in that closet, it was so hot and so humid in there that I was literally just pouring out sweat, dripping buckets of sweat on the floor with every letter that I typed. I mean, every word that I typed, I'm just sitting there repeating over to myself, "How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it?" When as the delivery date drew near, I was beyond exhausted, right? But I also had the great feeling that what I was putting on this page was turning out to be something really, really special. I mean, potentially a classic, right? So the script was due on Tuesday. Now that Monday was the first night of Monday Night Football. So I'm in the room, I'm dripping in sweat, I'm stinking, and I only had 4 pages left before I was finished the script. So I figured, you know what, let me take a break. I'll go up front, I'll watch the first half of the game, then I'll go back into the closet, and then I'll finish those 4 pages and I'll deliver the script in the morning. Easy, right? Wrong. Because when I went to shut the computer down, I hit something that to this day, I do not know what it was. But whatever I hit, it caused me to lose everything. I mean, every word, every syllable, every punctuation mark. I looked on the hard drive, on the floppy disk, I looked on the floor, on the ceiling, I even looked in my pants pocket. That script was nowhere to be found, right? So I'm standing there totally paralyzed, I couldn't move, and then all of a sudden I just screamed out in agony, "Dale! Dale! Oh my God, I just lost the entire script!" So I ran into a panic like you wouldn't believe. I burst out of that closet. I ran into my living room, and I collapsed on the living room floor. And by the time my wife ran into the room, I was sitting there with a rope around my neck, mumbling, I'm not going back in the closet. I'm not going back in the closet. I'm not going back in the closet. But my wife was so scared, she started rubbing my shoulders, trying to calm me down. And when she did, it suddenly hit me. If I didn't deliver this script like I had promised, well, my writing career was all but over. I mean, because nobody was going to ever hire me again. So at 2 a.m., I called my agent up, and with tears just streaming down my cheeks, I told her exactly what had happened, and she didn't even hesitate. She said, Michael, you got to go back in there and write it again. Now, that was not what I wanted to hear, but I knew she was right. And she said, let me deal with Harry. Just tell me how much time you need. I mean, how much time? I mean, it was 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I have no idea what possessed me to say the words that came out of my mouth next, but I said to her, well, just give me till Friday. And with that, I walked back into that closet and I closed the door. And I stared down that laptop, and I sat down in front of it, and I put my hands together and I started rubbing like this, and I said, all right, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? And then summoning up a force of resilience that I didn't even know existed, let alone that I possessed, I rewrote that entire script in 4 days. And what was more amazing than anything else was the fact that the script that I'd just rewritten was way better than the one that I'd lost. Now, my agent, she delivered the script to Harry that Friday. And that Monday, Harry called me to his office. Now, whenever I had done anything good, Harry would always greet me with a big smile and say, hello, writer. So I'm standing outside his office door, right? And I'm scared to death. I mean, I'm shaking like a leaf, right? Harry opens the door. He's standing there with a big smile. He opens up his arms and he grabs me in a big bear hug and he says, hello, writer. And that was all I needed to hear. See, walking back into that closet had saved my career and saved my dream.